Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this session. My name is Nelly Sattari. I hope you know that this session is a leadership skills, and if this is not something that you were after, there is still time to just move to other sessions. Otherwise, I would love to have you all in this session. First of all, I have to admit that I'm not really a fan of traditional presentations, one-way talking. So I would love you guys to join the slides. So please scan the slides. You will have it on the phone. And whenever you see the green screen, it means that you can actually look at your phone. And there are some questions for you or some interactions that I would love to hear your opinions on the questions. So I give you a few minutes for you to join. Who couldn't join? Can you show your hands? I can see you're still going. OK, let's have a quick test to see if you are all connected. In this session, who do we have in this session? Individual ICs, which means developers, anyone who is not actually leading the team, but it can be also technical leaders who are IC, but they are driving and leading the engineering projects. Engineering managers, or someone from business, like product managers, business analysts, program managers. So, OK, 74, almost 100 people. Looks like, yeah, it's about right. So most of you have been connected. So majority of the, probably 80% of the audience are individual ICs, including probably technical leaders, which is good. What I want you to probably be aware today is the delivery. Well, doesn't matter really what technology you're using. Is this shiny tools? Is this legacy systems? Really nobody care about it in the business. What everyone care about it is your ability to drive the outcome, to finish the initiatives, and to get the business the value that they want, right? Otherwise, who really care about the rest? And the delivery frustration is something that we all deal with every day. I want to show you a little conversation. I wish we had 2 volunteers to come on the stage and read it, but no pressure. So this is probably something that makes sense to you, and you're familiar with that. This conversation usually is between business and the developers, where business team ask for timeline for the project. And engineers always try to see if they can work around and not giving any deadline, because everything really depends. And then the PGMs or program managers, they actually insist because they really want to have maybe just one word, like roughly when. But engineers cannot do it. They always say, I don't know, my gut feeling says soon, but I don't know. So they don't want to give any estimation. And project managers are really getting frustrated and try to do their best to get some timeline. But engineers says 2 months, I don't know, maybe 6 months, something between this, which is quite crazy because it's 4 months difference. And then when everyone are kind of frustrated, obviously the conflicts happen and the delivery wouldn't be that effective. So we want to avoid this scenario, and we want to have a proper communication, a clear guidance for how we actually drive our projects. What I want to talk today is actually a case study, a real story, which happened to my team over last year. I'm a senior engineering manager at Atlassian, and I'm leading the team of infrastructure, like it's a platform as a service, internal PaaS. We call it Micros. So what Micros is doing, basically providing some capabilities to all Atlassian engineers, and they use those capabilities to deploy and operate their services into the cloud. We use AWS. Very busy team, really occupied with a lot of customer requests and problems. About a year ago, Atlassian decided to have a really ambitious goal and move all the customers from data centers to the cloud. So all the products that probably you work with, like Jira, Confluence, Trello, Opsgenie, they are all in cloud, but the customer data haven't been, fully on cloud. So what we need to do, this project actually involved many teams, I would say more than 10, 15 teams in my org. In Micros, what we meant to do, I'm just telling you roughly about, what was this project basically. We had to create and provision new regions in different areas to make sure that we have the point of presence in different areas. Then we had to make sure that Micros is able to deploy those services and Atlassian components and services to those new regions. But the problem was we actually haven't been fully equipped for like a big bang, which means our AWS accounts always hit the limit, like rate limiting, as you're probably aware of that. And when we had more services, more customers, we actually had a lot of trouble because we haven't been, our architectural design wasn't really accommodating to deploy to different accounts. So we kind of overwhelmed accounts. And as part of this project, we had to kind of distribute the load between different accounts and regions to make sure that the load is evenly distributed. So looks like we had one project, but behind the scene, we actually had a lot of architectural changes as well, which made it like two projects. We call this project DARE, Data Residency Project. We had to make the platform scalable, reliable, secure, and fix all these architectural changes as well. I went from, obviously, I've been developer for ages, and I was tech lead when in other companies. And I always use Atlassian Agile and practices, so I was pretty comfortable that when I'm engineering manager in Atlassian, everything should be fine. Like everyone know how to do the project, how to use tools. And I was so happy that, there's no problem anymore. So I went to my team and I talked to them about this project. Let's do it, no problem. And I was excited that, for the first time, we will have a successful delivery in time, and it's really going to be good. But then I realized, wow, it's even, similar to everywhere else. All the engineers are unhappy, and they're actually stressed, and they said, it's too big, we don't know how to start, we can't do it. And they have been tried a few times, even before me, so the project wasn't really as smooth as I was thinking. It wasn't really perceived as smooth. These are all the feelings and the words that I was hearing, like I'm stressed, I'm not motivated. Some other talk about, stakeholders, like business. They keep asking us, how are you doing, like how you're progressing, and they distract us and they don't let us focus. So there were so many usual problems that probably you all know about it. Internally and externally, everyone in my team was shouting that really we are not ready to deliver this project. And I was pressed by, obviously, different business stakeholders and parties in between. Please look at your phone, it's the time. The project, I call it complex project, but everyone thinks that their project is complex, right? I would love to hear your opinion on what complexity actually means to you. Because as a leader, I didn't really consider that this project is more complex than usual projects. And I tried to take it with the same approach, which was a mistake. So, interestingly enough, one of the hottest topic here is interdependencies. When you have so many teams involved in this project, 100%. Technical challenges, I think it's pretty common for many projects, but yes. When there are unknowns, especially when you want to change a lot of things as part of the project and you actually don't know where they go. And the rest of them, as you mentioned, like large teams, tight deadline, and so many people in the team, which actually made the project really complex. And when I say project, it can be a product, initiative, service, but I kind of define it as project. So their project ticked all the boxes. Complex project. If you were in my situation as a leader, what would have you been doing to address this situation, to unblock the team? This is what we always hear, that leaders should unblock the team of engineers, right? What would you do? How would you help them? Listen more. Thank you. Give more time. We will talk about it for sure. Clear goals, yes. Managing expectations of business, true. Free up resources, we will talk about this as well. Break the task into a smaller one. Making sure everyone are aligned. Delegate. Smaller teams. Some of them are long-term plans. Some of them are not really possible to be done in maybe a few months. But yes, still there are solutions. Cool. I can't read all of them. Let's go. But thank you for sharing your thoughts. The art of impossible is something that I would say leaders should learn. Something that we should always try to find a solution, regardless of everyone saying, no, it's impossible. There are different ways. Coaching individuals, making sure that your team is collaborative and everyone supports each other and the team is healthy. Relying on metrics, data, and something that we are going to talk about more. And obviously, the most important thing maybe, building an accountable team. They are not buzzwords. They're all practical. You just need to learn how to do it. So I was thinking, what can I do? What is the gaps? How can I help the team? And these are 3 areas that I thought probably I should focus on those things the most. Building a self-organized Agile team. The team was Agile, but I mean proper Agile team. Building a healthy and collaborative team. And making sure that the team is accountable and everyone actually owns the problem. Let's go through these 3 one by one. Accountable team. What does it mean? This is a question I get from so many actually senior leaders, that how you build an accountable team? Like, is it micromanaging? Is it just, threatening people that you will be fired? Or like, how this accountable team actually work? None of them. You don't need to be a micromanager. You don't need to be a cop. You don't need to be a bad police, good police. Like, none of them really. There are probably 3 or 4 small things that I will talk about, and there are more, but I will point out to these areas. First of all, you need to have a project delivery process. What we usually do, throwing the whole team to the implementation phase, like the make phase. We basically skip 2 or 3 phases, jumping into the explore and design, or jumping into a straight building. The problem is, stakeholders are usually really enthusiastic to drive this problem. They think this is going to be the best value to the businesses. And they know, how amazing this will be for the business. But why? because they were part of the whole journey from the beginning. They talked to so many people, to so many stakeholders, to CEOs, to CTOs. They know what's going on behind the scene. They know what is the problem and how amazingly we can progress if we solve this problem. But do we really know how it would be different for me, like different projects? So what we should do is going back, moving all the teams from the beginning, walking them from the beginning, making sure that we are all aligned. I would call it wonder phase. This is what we actually internally in Atlassian call different phases. And it's all about kickoff ceremony. Ceremony, rituals, is what actually humans need to make sure they're confident and comfortable. Even when you go and shake with someone, you're actually trying to, like make sure that you're safe and you understand the person, the feeling. So we need these ceremonies. I actually ran a half-a-day kind of interactive workshop or collaboration. I invited business, engineering teams, myself, I was there too. So we talked about what problems we are solving. We actually have a template for that. So we walked through the template. What problems are we solving? If we don't solve this problem, what would happen to the business? What do we lose? If we add value, if we finish this project, how we impact the business? What revenue would we generate? What value would we generate to our customers? How we can make them happy? How does success look like? What is the definition of done for this project? When we can say, like, good, we are achieving our goal. What is in the scope, what is outside of a scope? Who are our stakeholders? Do we even know who are, we communicating with? Who are actually observing us? Do we know about them? Do we know who are our customers? Are we aware of the risks and delivery risk or build risk? Do we know about the high-level solution and everything that happened before the implementation and explore phase? So this took us like half a day. Everyone asked a lot of questions, and they tried to understand why they should spend their time to build this solution. True, you are working for a business, you are getting paid, but does it justify that you don't know what you are going to work on? This is still my time, and I care about my time. I care about how I'm going to spend my time, because I want to enjoy my time, not just, like delivering. So I need to understand. I hope you're the same. So we talked about part of it, which makes sure everyone are aligned. How else? There is another part, which is communication. How you make sure that you actually have a proper communication with your stakeholders, because this is a big part of accountability. When business and a stakeholder tell me my team is not collaborating, usually they're talking about my team is not communicating. So how would you do it? Regular status update, perfect. I assume it's verbal update. Transparent communication, talking about risks, progress, completely transparently. Setting clear expectation. If you're not able to meet the deadline, or if you're not able to do something, you don't have to hide it. Everything is about communication. Use of dashboards and tools. Interestingly, it's the lowest, but we will talk about it. And some sync meetings, probably weekly meetings, because usually you have so many parties involved in the project, and you need to meet with them. Perfect. Happy with that. I want to add one more tip to this communication, which is communication tools, project communication tools. I know we usually rely on our verbal communication. Unfortunately, it's the less effective way of communication. What we use at Atlassian is a tool which is called Atlas. I tell you what is that. You can find the equivalent, like tool in the market. I'm sure you can find it when you look for project communication tools. So Atlas is a communication tool and project which is created for every single initiative that we are working on. Basically, you define what actually you are going to do as part of this project, what the success looks like, and all the things that we discuss in the kickoff session will be in this ticket. So when you open the ticket, you know that what is this project about. Then the second part of it is actually people who contribute in this project. You should be completely transparent that as a leader, I have this many people in this project. For some reason, some teams and leaders try to keep it invisible because they feel it makes expectations for business. These are people, they should be in this project, and they should, when they see their name there, they're actually getting more accountable as well. And if you lead a project, maybe you're not all of you are managers, but if you are leaders, please just ask your company, your teams, that like how we want to communicate the progress. Another part of this tool, connect this with your Jira project software or any like GitHub project, DevOps project, whatever you use. All the backlog, all the tickets. So when you look at the Atlas ticket, you can see how many of the tickets are shipped and how many are still left. The last part, which you have to do it every week on Friday, we actually do it every single week on Friday, is weekly update. As you can see here, there are like weekly updates on the project, and you talk about what we have done, what are the blockers, similar to a stand-up, but as a weekly stand-up, basically. On Monday morning, all these different projects that you can see on the board, and they are from different teams, they roll up to the senior managers and the stakeholders. So as a manager, I can see all different projects in my team, how they are working, are they on track, are they at risk, and if there are dependency, I can actually manage it as early as possible. So, and you know that senior leaders and business love reporting, so this is the best tool that they can actually use. That helps you to save your time, to be more effective. You don't have to answer to every single person that comes to you. You just refer them to the Atlas ticket. I just updated on the Friday. Please have a look at that. And this becomes a ritual for everyone in the company. We talked about the second part, communication. Now we want to talk about clear expectations. In my leadership experience, majority of the conflicts and the problems happen because people don't know what they should do. Like, I think you should do something, and you think, no, I should do that work. And at the end of the project, everyone blames each other, and the work is actually getting unattended. There is a simple solution that not only at work, but also you can use it at life in any scenario and situation. We call it roles and responsibility play. If you search for that, you can actually see the play. It's a sets of instructions you can follow, but it's pretty simple. You define different roles in your team: tech lead, engineering, project manager, product manager, engineering manager, whoever, testers, whoever is actually part of this project. And everyone actually go on the board and stick some stickers on the board. They talk about what they think they should do in this project. And then the rest of the team, they go and do the same for that role. Like, I go and say, I think as a tester, I think you should do these things as well. We either agreed, thumbs up, or people disagree. Fine. Like, I just had this example last week. We had one role, nobody accepted to do that. Then you can find a solution. You can negotiate. You can talk to other people. You can see if there is a lack of role in your project. But the most important thing is having the clarity of what is my role, what am I expected. And at the end of the project, everyone will be happy and nobody will think that it wasn't fair and people blame me. This is really, really important. Any questions so far on the accountable team? Please feel free to ask any question. We also have some time probably at the end of the talk, but interrupt me if you have any. Second important thing is building the Agile team. Or I would go one step further and I say amend and adjust our way of delivery with the Agile team. Because we all think that we are an Agile, but are we? So you can only say I am an Agile if you are able to tick these boxes that I'm going to talk in the next slides, if you are actually doing all these things. So do you use Agile triangle? This one. So usually in different projects, there are some variables, options, items, and some constant. Time. Usually the time is constant, isn't it? Like they tell us when we want it, and you can't really change it most of the time. But can you change the scope of the project, maybe? Can you negotiate on the scope? Can you actually negotiate to get some help from other teams? As a technical leader, as a leader, you have to have the negotiation skills. You have to speak up, and you have to ask about what you think it can help you. In our project, I didn't have enough people. And I went and presented everything to the leadership. I talked about the scope of work, the time, and how we actually not able to deliver if we don't get more people. So some of my neighbor teams, they actually sent some people to my team for 6 months, and we are able to do that. The scope of the project, can you actually go and say, maybe we should cut a few features and just stick to a few essential ones? I actually found this one is pretty helpful, and businesses are quite flexible when you say, if I cut these ones, I'm able to deliver the main values. So obviously, in the beginning, everyone wants every single fancy features, but then they will work with you. So as a technical leader, negotiation skills, being able to present, that's why we think leaders shouldn't really sit in front of computer, put the headphone, and then, don't talk to each other, because we need these communication skills. The second feature of the Agile team is incremental delivery. When you get a project, are you just dump every stories into a big backlog? Or are you going to break it down into phases? I mean, I'm not talking about the MVP for the project. I'm talking about the delivery phases of that little MVP. Usually, we break down projects into epics. Epic is Agile concept. You can search for it. So epic is logical way of breaking down work into smaller phases. First of all, that will help you managing a smaller bucket of work, so you can see the dependencies much easier. Second, I will talk about it in the healthy team at the end of the presentation, but it definitely helps with project fatigue. Have you heard of that? We will talk about it. So technical leaders, whoever drive the project, they should be able to break down the project into smaller pieces. Also, we want to talk about Agile rituals. I'm pretty sure you all know about this, but please tell me what are among these 4 rituals, which one are you actually properly aligned with? This stand-up obviously is the most common ritual. Perfect, everyone do it. Retro, I hope we all do it properly, being open, honest, and safe environment. Sprint planning, not bad. Backlog refinement, perfect. I want to give you a few tips to amend and adjust these rituals, because there are some tips that if you don't consider, it probably makes these rituals a little bit more, a bit less effective, let's say. I have one more question before I give you these tips. What factors do you think makes the scope of project creeping? Do you know what I mean? Like literally, when you have some tickets in the backlog, when you know that the scope of project and the estimation is 10 days, usually it goes to 40 days or 50 days. What are those reasons to you? I want you to rank them. So first, so far, is technical complexity. Fair enough. Let's keep going, and I want to see if this ranking is changed. OK. I'm happy that you all agreed that working on non-MVP stories can be a problem, because usually when business asks why you are not able to deliver, the first thing that engineer says is, because it's too complex. Technical is, you don't know what's happening, so it's kind of challenging. True, and I'm engineer, and I totally understand that, but it's only 20% of the problem. There are other problems. Technical complexity, we changed the rank, thank you. So working on non-MVP stories, we will talk about it. Ticket prioritization, yes, it's another problem. Dependency, we will talk about it. And the PRs, which are beyond the definition of done, which means that you're actually starting a story without clearly adding the definitions to the story. You actually creep the scope. You fix this, you refactor the code, you fix the CI/CD, you fix some of the, things that can be potentially done later. So good that we are all agreed. Let's talk about some tips that we can avoid this scope creep. First of all, sprint goal alignment. When you start a new sprint, do you care what is your sprint goal is? Or you do care that we have these stories we should deliver? Maybe sometimes random stories. This is the first tip. You should actually have a sprint goal which is aligned with your bigger delivery. And then based on this sprint goal, you should pull the stories into the sprint. But some teams actually do the other way. They pull the random stories to the sprint. Who cares? We want to deliver, right? No, actually, it's important. We need to go based on the goals, because it helps us to pick the stories which are relevant. It helps us to figure out stories which are not dependent on each other. And this is another problem we usually have. Like, we pick a story, we go in the middle of the sprint, and we say, oh, that was wrong. I should have picked the other story because this is dependent on that. So we wasted 1 week of the sprint, literally. Once you define the sprint goal, then at the end of the sprint, you need to measure. Everyone should go and tick the box and say, did they actually achieve the sprint goal? This is much more important than we achieved all our stories in the backlog. That's not really important when it's meaningless. So when everyone ticks the boxes, if it's yes, perfect, we celebrate. If it's partially, it's okay. If it's no, then we have to do a retro and understand what was the blocker, why we couldn't deliver, especially when it happens frequently. The velocity chart is the measure that you can actually turn that, yes, I achieved my goal, into the measurable outcome. What is the velocity chart? The number of commitment versus completion. The rate of completion versus commitment. You, as a team, might have only 2 people in sprint, so the number of stories will be changed. Who cares? But the rate of completion, would it be consistent over, let's say, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? Or one time you actually achieve 10%, one time you achieve 90%. What is wrong? Why don't you have consistency? Do you actually don't estimate properly? Don't you maybe communicate your capacity and you do some other activities you don't want to talk about it? What is the issue? So this velocity chart is what actually we measure at the end of the sprint. So the combination of I achieve my goal, I achieve my velocity over, let's say, 80%, and obviously the stories are delivered at the end. That's one tip. The next tip is, I really want all the engineers, it would be my desirable state if we can all talk data-driven, if we can talk with metrics, charts, instead of relying on our gut feeling. Keep saying that, I think I'm okay. Why? And same as engineering managers. We keep going to people and say, how are you progressing? I should have tools. I should have my own tools. Look at that, monitor the team, and understand how they're doing. I shouldn't really bother the team, right? So I want to show you a few metrics. There are so many. I'll show you a few. First of all, I emphasize on this twice because it's really important. Other than the sprint goal, all the technical leaders should make sure that the stories that they create in the backlog and bring it to the stories, it actually aligns with the whole scope of the project. We don't want to have success criteria for our project, but do other works, which is not part of that success criteria. This is one probably metrics or charts that you can use. So potentially all my tech leads during the sprint grooming or refinement, they actually look at the epics. These are different epics that we create to break down our project into a smaller epic. They look at that and they said, for this epic, I can see we are, like, okay, like 80% delivered. The other epic is 70% delivered. So they look at the rate of delivery and remaining work and actually communicate if it's quite a big gap. Another one is simple filters in Jira or any tool that you're using. You can actually look at the stories which are keep rolling out to the next next sprint. So you can see the one with the red line. It actually went to Austria sprint, Tokyo, and Brisbane. So we call it by name, by cities. So you can actually go and figure out why. What's wrong with this ticket that nobody can wrap it up? So you need to have these tools to be able to track your work. Another tool, you can have a look at the ratio of created stories versus resolved stories and see if the team are actually like balanced or not, or it's a big gap between the created stories and resolved one. This one is more interesting. Probably I love it more than the others. This is the dependency mapper. So when you create your tickets, you mark them as the dependent ticket to another ticket. So you basically have a child issue and linked issues in each story, and you can say, this is the dependency between these tickets. And with this dependency mapper, you can have a look and say, okay, so if I want to deliver this story, I should first finish these ones. So you wouldn't really pick this story to the sprint because you know that there are dependencies. This is a problem that many teams have, and honestly, it's really hard to be on the top of the technical as well as project progress. So please use these tools, make your life easier. All right. I have 2 rules here because I don't want anyone to be stick to estimation. To me, estimation is just a guideline. Seriously, no reliable thing. Communication over estimation. Yes, we do estimation in my team, but it's not a Bible. Like if someone come to me and say, it was wrong, like I underestimated, fine. But more importantly is the communication. If you don't do it, at the end of the project, come to your technical leader and say, sorry, I was wrong. What is the point then? So always think about, nobody asks you why you didn't estimate properly, but everyone asks you why didn't you raise the risk or communicate properly. And we talked about this, metrics over gut feeling. Please think about it and see how you can actually incorporate it. I will talk about the healthy and collaborative team as well quickly, because if you don't have a collaborative and supportive environment, everyone feels stressed, and your team might deliver project, but they will be broken at the end, and it's not sustainable. We talked about breaking down stories. Why? Because we want to celebrate the success. We want to have party. We want to make sure that everyone are not getting project fatigue. We want to make sure that when we deliver one small part, we celebrate and we feel achieved. Then we move to the next phase, which is another epic. So this way, the team wouldn't feel project fatigue. Also, as part of the celebration, people know each other, social events happen, we recognize the team. It would be amazing. I have one motto in my team: we win together, we lose together. Yes, I have heroes in my team for sure, but I don't care much, because at the end of the day, we are one team, and those heroes are here to help others. I don't want the stars when the team are not really, supported. Collaboration. When the project is, at risk, everyone try to be delivering the project individually, which is a mistake. I would recommend do as much as pair programming, shadowing, mentoring, as much as you can to make sure that the team is going healthy. These projects are never ending, like it keeps happening. So we have to have find and our rituals. Coaching, clear expectation, we talk about it. Feedback, it involves difficult conversation, but if you don't have it, then it really doesn't make the whole team healthy, and people will suffer during the delivery, which impact their mental health and their performance. As a leader, please just look for the symptoms. If you see someone is really tired, really, like changing in the behaviors, if you see someone is negative and catastrophizing everything, which is, which they weren't before like that, like if it's a change, help them. Raise it with your manager, or if you are a manager, help them to overcome this situation. I'll go back to my project in the team. So we worked for 6 months. We had all these things that I told you. And after 6 months, perfect work. Actually, the team delivered 2 weeks ahead of delivery, which was really a surprise for the business because they were ready for delay. But it was 2 weeks ahead of delivery. Everyone were happy. We had celebrations. All those photos are AI generated, but this one is actually the actual photo of my team when we went to the Harbour Bridge in Sydney, and we took the boat, enjoy our time. Everyone feel accomplished, energized, happy. And most importantly, you need to look at your team health. If you have a survey, if you have any measurements to see how your team is performing, are they healthy? We have monthly surveys. And the survey at the end of the project actually was at the highest satisfaction, surprisingly. Like 94% team happiness, 100% management happiness. So it's important to have the sustainable delivery. Otherwise, I used to be in a team, we delivered the project, but at the end, we have to leave the company because we felt really broken, burnout, and unhappy about everything, all the communications. So I would like you to take maybe 1 minute, just write down one tip that you take from this session and you actually want to take it to your team, and maybe, reflect on it more and share with the rest of the group here. Team health check. Yeah, perfect. Use metrics and reflect it. Yep. More metrics, beautiful. Dependency mapper, part of the tool, I would say. Dependency graph, healthy team, amending agile rituals, better use of epics, using Atlas tickets, charts, more celebration, role and responsibility play. Thank you very much for listening and sharing your thoughts. I'm here all the day. If you have any questions or discussions or sharing experience, please come and chat. I would be more than happy. Thank you.